It's that time of the year where teams feel they need to make a move in order to make a playoff run. It's time to take advantage of struggling teams. I got the best buy low and sell high players on today's action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. You can find me at Matthew_Ane at Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know anymore. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you may listen. It really helps out the show, and if you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, check us out on Subtext, become a member of the Diamond Club, and you'll get a whole bunch more perks than you can with this 30-minute podcast. Link is in the description below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like they want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking us all up, all customers, every single one of you, with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And all right, guys, Dom wasn't able to make it. He had a last-minute emergency, so we're stuck with just me. But that just means we're going to have a really, really awesome show today. I promise, as long as I don't keep fighting with my mic. If you're watching on YouTube, you see me struggling. Oh, well, let's get this thing going, right? Okay, it's trade for and away, like I mentioned at the top with the quick cold open. It's that time of the year where teams really do need to make a push. And ultimately, it's one of those things where let's take advantage of people getting desperate. Let's go in, let's try to sell the players that are on our teams that are really performing and, have pretty much like a Halloween mask on of them performing. And we all know that this stuff isn't sustainable, but let's start trying to make some moves. Now, there some of these guys may be, just push it over the top. Some of these guys you're going to have to pay, a good chunk of price for them, but we'll get into it. And there's some interesting names today, names that, Dom gave me, that since he wasn't able to be here, that kind of have me like, I'm going to give this a whirl in a couple leagues too. And you know what? We both have put together some good names today, and I'm going to start off with a really good one. And we're going to start with Julio Rodriguez at the top here. Julio, obviously on the IL right now. And quite honestly, he's, doing nothing for teams. He's a first round pick, and everybody's kind of just like, oh my God, I messed up. What do I do? I'm kind of stuck with this dude. He hurt his ankle now. He's been on the IL for quite some time. And from what I'm reading here, you know, Rodriguez has been linear running during Mariners' day off, so Thursday, and expected to be swinging at bats soon, as per MLB.com. Mariners general manager Justin Hollander noted that Rodriguez is pushing it as much as he can in the rehab. As he added to the team's high performance, staff told him the biggest test will come when Rodriguez tries cutting and fast changes and directions on that sprained ankle. There's no semblance of a return timetable yet, but it is what it is, right? So hopefully he can get back soon. Now, this is the thing, right? Teams are desperate. Obviously, their first round pick isn't panning out. It's kind of like a bust for them entirely. And this is the perfect time to kind of capitalize, right? I don't feel you need to give up a hell of a lot. You could probably give up a guy that's struggling, that you're on your team yourself, that can, really just kind of free up some space for you to pick up a streamer, and also too, you know, get a guy that has some possible upside when he returns, and that would be Julio Rodriguez. We all know who Julio would be if we were looking at him and he was performing like last year in the second half. He is that difference maker essentially. And guys that I'm probably floating out there for him is an odd one, but at the same time, I'm really not mad at it. And if I could get this job done, I'm going to do it. Adolis Garcia is like my number one trade away guy for him. He's not on the show of who trade for or away, but I also am trying to acquire him. But if I have him, he's being a roster clog, and I need to stream myself. But I also want to pick up some upside and have an open IL spot. I might float Adolis to the Julio manager. They're struggling. I could pass it, and then boom, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Like I can totally see myself just kind of like pushing him off and freeing up some space for me. But yeah, I think Julio is actually acquirable. And with that being said, why not try and take the shot? Because if he's on your team come playoffs and, you know, Adolis hasn't picked it up, then it's already a win right there. The upside is in your favor. Let's move on. Let's talk about Freddie Freeman. He's another one. Now, you're going to have to pay a good price for it. Honestly, hands down, it's just one of those things. But he's obtainable right now because he hasn't been around and he's dealing with some personal issues. They never really said what, other than he's missed these past 8 games. Um, with his wife and his ailing 3-year-old son, who recently was diagnosed with Gilbert syndrome, which that is, whatever that is, sounds horrible. Thoughts and prayers with Freddie Freeman and his family. God forbid that would happen to my family. God, I don't even know what to do with myself. So, but here's the thing, right? They're struggling. They need to make a move. Is Freddie Freeman going to be distracted? How is that going to affect your bottom line of trying to win a league, right? So right now is a perfect opportunity to get him, even though he's returning. He probably returned, yesterday. Today is when I'm recording. I recorded the night before. So if Freddie Freeman hasn't rejoined the team yet, or if he starts off slow coming out, he's going to be obtainable. You're going to probably spend about like 90 cents to 95 cents on the dollar, but I'm okay with that. Like if I can get an upgrade of like a Freddie Freeman kind of caliber player, I'm willing to do it. He's an all-out pro. I don't foresee anything really affecting his game. He's going to be one of the better hitters in a long time. So Freddie Freeman is somebody I want to try and acquire. And you know what? This is probably the only time that he's even, one of those people that can actually be touched. Normally you try to offer anything for Freddie Freeman and they're going to ask for your firstborn child. So Freddie Freeman actually is obtainable. And this next guy here, same team, Will Smith, catcher for the Dodgers. Will Smith is somebody I am going to try and acquire. It's that time of the year where you might be able to try and take advantage of a team struggling, and they're probably struggling because they've paid up for Will Smith. Will Smith hasn't really been performing over the last month. He has 7 runs, a bomb, 4 ribs, batting 157, with an OPS of 477. All signs are pointing negative, and you had to pay a decent price for him. I think it was like a top like 7 or 8 pick to go out and acquire him to shore up the top second or third best catcher in the league. So yeah, like the team with him not performing is definitely hurting your bottom line at trying to win anything right now. And you know what? It's time to really go ahead and kind of dump him, in my opinion. But yeah, let's look at it. Will Smith right now, you look at like his underlying stats, and it, sheesh. Hang on. So like I said, Will Smith's underlying stats are pretty nice, even for the not great month, right? His slug's about a 442. His average exit velocity about an 89.9. He's barreling up a good amount of percent of the time, hitting the ball hard contact about 42% of the time. Launch angle sweet spots looking real nice at 36.4%. He's squaring up real nice. He's not chasing. He's not whiffing. He's not really striking out, and he's walking like a monster. Everything about this says, there's going to be a bounce back. He's really just having a drought. It's time to take advantage. And you know what? Being that, with catchers and them not really like truly being like an everyday serious contributor day in and day out, and you have to pay the price for Will Smith. It's one of those things where now it's the time to acquire. And it's always a mistake. I always say it, right? Unless you're going to get like a Buster Posey or a Real Muto in his prime, you're not going to have somebody that's going to really just contribute like a 7th or 8th round pick and like an outfielder or anything of the sort. So like you put yourself at a disadvantage, but this is the perfect time to trade for a guy like this, right? Okay, they paid up. They're not performing or living it up. They're struggling now. At least hopefully they're on a struggling team. And now let me slide in there. Let me try and acquire him. Let me try to get him for cheap. And I think there's a world and a way where it's done, right? You can give him a catcher that's performing, that's probably on your team, that you really don't care about. It's probably just more of a stream at this point or whatever. And then you throw in a little something that's like nothing that you care about. And then boom, here you go. You got Will Smith, and you probably can kind of clean up and get something else with it. So I'm trying to go out there, acquire him, Last year's numbers weren't worth the pick to me anyway. If you followed us in the beginning of the season, I always pick catcher late just due to the fact that, they just don't really perform in the way that you would need with such high draft, high draft stock price, essentially. But coming up next, I got two last buy lows of Max Fried and Joe Musgrove. And then we're going to move into, you know, who we should sell high and take advantage of that high value. Get the supplies, get supplies from the site that made for skilled trades. Supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, electrical products online. Their easy to use website is packed with helpful resources and latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support with industry leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the trade skills can get competitive edge by joining the Spyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at supplyhouse.com and order plumbing, HVAC, electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, rely on our dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext where your path to victory begins. And like I mentioned at the top, new members get a free 2 weeks, so check us out. I promise you're going to love it, and you're going to be ahead of the league going into the playoffs. It's going to be a good time. Stick around. I promise you're going to like it. All right, let's get back into it like I promised at the top right before the break. I got an awesome one here in Max Fried. Max Fried is back. And coming off the IL, and you know what? I think I think you're able to go out and acquire him right now. I think he has a little bit of an injury kind of tag on him, and you know what? It's that time he got laid up right back after having the forearm issues. I believe it was what it was, right? Um, right, he was having forearm soreness, and he already gets roughed up in his start against Miami of all teams, especially after giving up Jazz and all them. And it's just not looking great. But I think there's better days to come. Obviously, Max Fried is a great pitcher, but this is the perfect time to get somebody like hedging and just like freaking out. Oh my God, what do I do? I was supposed to be relying on this kid. Now, oh my God, you know, can I even make the playoffs? Right? Put it in their head. Can you make the playoffs with Max Fried? I don't know. I think I got this guy, that can kind of make things a little bit better for you and affect the change now, et cetera, et cetera. And you can kind of reel them in and get them all going here and kind of do your thing. Now, you go and you look at his underlying stats. The fastball is still sitting at 93.7 miles per hour. You know, getting great movement on his fastball, really great movement on his off-speed pitches. He actually RAs at a 3.8, where he's posting a 3.4. So that's not really great in his favor. But his X batting average is like a 253, which is not bad. He's kind of getting guys to chase, kind of getting the whiffs, kind of getting the Ks, and kind of not walking guys. But, like, that can all change with just a couple little metrics, and, and that could be, like, 3 starts, and we're all seeing red again on this, so I'm not really upset with that. What I do like, though, is he's not allowing guys to barrel. He's not giving up hard contact at a good rate, and he's creating ground balls. These are things he's doing successfully, and, with that coming, there is going to be more positive notes and moving in a positive direction. So, with Max Fried, I feel I can go out there and I can trade for him now. You might have to pay about 75 cents on the dollar. I ain't mad at it. You can take one of these guys we're going to talk about in a little bit, you know, float them in a trade along with something, and it probably gets the job done. You're not having to give up an asset that you truly care about just to go out and get a guy and just get a little bit of an upgrade. Whereas, like, you can give away a guy that's been hot for like a couple weeks or even a month or two and just be like, all right, cool, dude. Like, here you go. Take him. It's going to help you. You're struggling. And then boom, we're kind of moving and grooving here. So I would totally try and get Max Fried, see what you got. If you have any questions, join the Diamond Club on subtext, and I'll be able to answer those questions for you. I'll give you some trade advice right there. Hey, let's move back on. Let's talk about Joe Musgrove coming off the IL, hopefully soon. I believe he's getting ready to start doing some rehab work. I'm pulling it up right now because I have him in every league. Unfortunately, he's sitting on my IL. And yeah, the elbow issue looks like he struck out 3.1 innings in his rehab start. And I think he's going to get quite a few. I'm reading here. First rehab start in San Antonio. Look good. Du-du-du-du-du. He posted about 43 pitches, which is nice. Fastball was sitting between 94 and 96 miles per hour. Expect he's at least due to get one more minor league start before making his return from the 60-day IL. So this is a perfect time to do it. There's positive notes. He's hitting, 94 to 96 miles per hour on his fastball. Things are all kind of trending in the right direction. So, you know, they're probably upset that they even have him. In some leagues he's been dropped if like people were panicking. He is 64% owned, so he might even be out there. So he might even be a stash at this point. But in teams where they're smart and they held on to Musgrove and know that he's a second half pitcher and just in general is a talent worth stashing, he might be worth it. And he also is going to be pretty cheap. Like I can tell you right now, if you're able to give them even a half decent pitcher that you're not really believing in, like I don't know. We'll get to one later where I think you probably could give him up and, get the job done. So Joe Musgrove, I think, is totally acquirable and probably you only have to pay about like 30 or 40% on the dollar for Joe Musgrove of the San Diego Padres. Let's move on. Let's talk about Lawrence Butler of the Oakland Athletics. He's been just crushing the ball of late. We all know he like triple dong the other like 2 weeks ago against the Phils. And he just been on a tear since. And these are the best kind of players, right? We all don't believe in this. We all don't think he's this good. 8 home runs over the last month. Yeah, no. He only had, he's not this good. Let's put it this way. He's batting 341 on the month, too. So, like, let's all take a chill pill. About most of his home run production this season is in this 1 month. 8 out of the 12 home runs all year. Lawrence Butler, obviously, he hits the ball really hard. Do not get me wrong, but isn't somebody I'm really counting on. You know, you look at it and all the hard stuff looks great. His average exit velocity is 92 miles per hour. He's barreling up. He's creating hard contact pretty often. His line drive sweet spot is looking real nice, but he's chasing, he's whiffing, he's striking out. He isn't really walking, etc. Like that stuff isn't looking wonderful. And let's just go back and just look at this kid's, history and see exactly what's going on with him because like that's the thing too, like you want to look, okay, what's the history, what's the potential of him actually sticking out and continuing this path, right? And you know you look at it even in the minors, like okay, he had 366 at bats with 15 home runs, like and batted 284, which is nice, but then in 2023 when he got the call up he only batted about 211. And 22, he batted 265, 21, batted 273, 177, 226. It's been all over the place. I'm not exactly sure. Like he has like who he is in the terms of batting average category, but like he struck out 72 times, to only 23 walks. You see that consistently through. Like, okay, even in 2022 where he did hit 265, he still had 109 strikeouts to 40 walks. Like, he's not a guy that's going to, be super successful in terms of that, and he's going to hurt you in points leagues. And all it takes is for a line drive to go wrong for him to not have as good of a batting average. So just be weary of Lawrence and is essentially it. And I think you could trade him for how he's been producing and him having such a young career and being 23 with the unknown still there, I guess is how you got to treat it. You can kind of see as him having a little bit more of a value and saying, hey, there is potential for a strong second half from this kid. So like, you might want to, see where this world takes you and kind of just like, see what you can get for him. I think you can get a fair price for him. You might not be able to get many of these names, maybe throw him in for Will Smith and you have to add something in to get him. But like, it's not bad. You're giving up a waiver wire pick. I think if you were to try and go and acquire Freddie Freeman, he'll have to be included, or Julio have to be included in the deal. But you're not gonna be able to straight up, like I said. But ultimately, he can push the deal over the edge without having to give up something that you like a little bit more and trust more. So giving up Lawrence Butler is definitely key right now. Coming up next, we got the rest of these guys that are sell highs essentially or trade aways. Hanging with Suarez, Willie Adames, Brady Singer. And we're coming right back. Here we go, guys. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But playoffs is winding down. You get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like they want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep it going with sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up any bet I want, and whatever I'm in the mood for. And boom, here we go. And this summer they're hooking us up, right? FanDuel has all customers with boost, bonus daily. That's right, boost and bonus daily. So you're going to be able to get better odds on whatever you want and take home more and larger prizes. So ultimately, FanDuel is really kicking it in for us. Take advantage of it, and I promise, you're going to have a grand old time. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer right now. All right, let's finish up these sell highs. And Eugenio Suarez is somebody I'm definitely trying to move. I don't know what exactly you're going to get in regards to like his total value because I mean everybody knows this dude is washed, but it isn't one it's one of those things though where you start floating back and forth and the guy needs to make a push and you want to get somebody that's really slumping on his team and this is kind of how it usually lines up too, right? So let's put this into perspective. I bought low on Simeon, and I floated him Bush to in addition to whatever else was in the trade. You guys don't need to know the specifics, but Bush had second base eligibility, obviously, and he was performing pretty well at the time. And obviously, like, yeah, I wanted to keep Bush because of what we talked about yesterday, but obviously Simeon's a way better pickup, and he's been a lot better of late. So it kind of got the deal done, right? I was trading him, and he was getting a second baseman in return. It kind of pushed. I didn't have to give up any other valuable, you know, parts or pieces on my team, and it pushed the deal over the finish line essentially. And that's what Suarez is, right? He's a guy that's performing right now, has third base eligibility. So, like, if you're going for a third baseman on their team, and you're trying to go and either buy low or just trying to you know bump up the cost and be like, yo, here, like, not only am I going to give you this guy that should quasi make the deal fair, and then I add in Suarez, it kind of levels things out. You also get to fill your third base hole or replace this player. Boom, here you go. And Suarez has been nuking the ball right now. 9 runs, 3 bombs, 5 ribs, batting 375 over the last week. You know, he might be available in leagues. Like, he is still only owned in 59% of leagues, but in leagues where he's owned, these are smart leagues. Streaming him, you should totally be trying to, include him in a trade to get things done. I'm not saying he's your end all be all, your main piece of the whole trade, but he is somebody that can totally, totally drive it home. And I think it's very undervalued guys like this in a trade that you just don't even think about trading. Oh, they're not going to want them. No, float them out there. You'll be surprised how easy it is to just float one of these high performing waiver wire pickups for them to stream while they're giving up a big piece because what they're doing is they're trying to improve their team and they do it even in short stints. These are the guys that kind of like get undervalued on the trade away side, and you know it really does go a long way. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Willie Adames here. Willie Adames is another one. He's having a really good season, and I think it's a little inflated. The dude has 17 home runs on the season, which, I mean, he might have another 7 in him. He had 24 last year. Don't get me wrong. Batting 246, way above board. 294 in the last month. 12 runs, 4 bombs, 14 ribs, a stolen base, etc. Like, Adames is playing out of his mind right now. And you know what? When it comes to Adames, though, I'm not really about it. Like, I'm not an Adames guy. I've never been an Adames guy. He's not going to have a breakout season at age 28. Like, let's just get that clear right now, right? He is who he's been for the last, you know, 7 years, right? We look at it like this. He's on pace with everything else. maybe be able to hit like 80 some odd night like runs, etc. But he's always been a run guy. The ribs are pretty up there with going on pace for his career high season in 2022, where he had 98 ribs, which would be nice, but the home runs are not on pace for anything higher. It's not going to repeat that 2022 season where he had 31 home runs. You know, I don't see it. He's not going to break out. I think the batting average is going to take a step back. He has 116 strikeouts to 54 walks. There's a lot of stuff there that would just tells me, hey man, like I just don't believe in it. Like his average exit velocity on the season is 88.7 miles per hour. It's not going to support him trying to go and hit 30 or even the 25 mark. I think the ceiling is 24. The batting average, his ex batting average at 248, pretty much on par with what he's doing now. Um, he's barreling up really nice, but he's not really creating a lot of hard contact. The launch angle is nice, but he's still chasing, whiffing, striking out. He is walking right now at a good rip, but at the same time, like I just I don't think he's really that valuable. I think that, what, he's an inflated name that I think we can take advantage of. That by the time the season ends, he's going to be more of like a top 150, 170 player versus this top 100 player that we see right now. There's worse days to come with him. So I'm willing to trade him. I'm willing to move him. And, you didn't really have to pay much for him anyway going into the season. So it's definitely worth moving on from him now and trading him and fitting him into a spot. Shortstop has been a little rough this year. There's guys underperforming. So Willie Adames is somebody that could carry some value and, get the job done. Who I would trade him for is kind of like the trickier part. He's more of like another piece that you're trying to fit in the puzzle to try and get the deal done, essentially. So Willie Adames, definitely a trade away. Let's move on to Brady Singer. He's a pitcher that I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready to get rid of. I'm not really buying into anything he's been doing of late. You know, let's see. Literally touting a sub 3 ERA on the season, and I ain't buying that whatsoever. This last month alone, he has 4 wins, 26 Ks, a 2.35 ERA, and a 1.11 WHIP. Fantastic, great job, bro. Like all joking aside, he's having a great season. But here's the thing: you go and look at that, baseball savant page, the underlining stats, and there's a lot of blue. His xERA is really a 4.45, where he's touting literally a sub 3 ERA. His ex batting average, what he's giving up is about a 263. His fastballs at 92 miles per hour, which I ain't mad at, but he's given up kind of decent, hard contact, another half a mile per hour, and it's pretty dangerous at 88.5 miles an hour. Not getting guys to chase, not getting guys to whiff, getting somewhat Ks, about 10 off from being a K per nine. Walking guys not walking guys a lot, but he's allowing guys to barrel, giving up hard hits, but he is creating ground balls, and that's part of his success and why he's able to really just, do what he's doing, but it's not enough to say, hey, it's so, ridiculous that he's even in, 2 run difference. And then even if you go by his FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, it's a 3.74 versus the 2.88. So it's almost a whole run higher, no matter how you look at it. And I'm just not buying it. Like what Singer's doing is just, not something I'm really buying into. So just like just dump real quick, like trade him really like right now. Let them think there's a Cole Reagans effect that the Kansas City Royals just have the magic touch when it comes to pitchers these days. They do not. They got lucky with Reagans, and that's really just about it. Singer is not going to go and turn around and be this guy that everybody really believes he could be. I mean, the dude is 28 years old. He's still within the prime. Don't get me wrong, but you know, we look at his career since he's been in the bigs: a 5.52 ERA last year, 22 at 3.23, then a 4.91 and a 4.06. So you're going to tell me you're going to place a bet on a guy that has only done it really like one time, and now he's starting to show it again at age 28. I'm not really buying it. I'm going to sit back and just say like, yo, this kid has worse days to come. Trade him now. But guys, I want to thank you all for being here with me. And if you can, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. And if you feel like you want a little bit more baseball and check out the Locked On Podcast Network, check out Locked On MLB. Great podcast over there with Silly. Silly's really funny. He has that like real nice jive of being like, a real baseball commentator from, early days. And, he really knows his stuff. Check him out. He'll really give you some good insight on some baseball. But with that, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. Check us out tomorrow. Dom will be back. And guys, peace out.